Sundays feel different when you're 28. Now, Sunday carries a quiet weight. It's the soft anxiety of time slipping by, the low hum of responsibility, the silent countdown to Monday morning. It's grocery lists, unanswered emails, and the sound of a vacuum cleaner moving slowly across the floor. Sundays don't shout anymore. They whisper. But if I close my eyes and breathe in deep, if I let the noise fade just enough, I can still find the Sundays that belonged to a different life. I can still feel the heat of a July sun resting heavy on the back of my neck. I can still hear the sound of a screen door snapping shut behind me, that rhythmic wooden thud that meant the day had officially begun. I am 28 years old today, but in my heart, I am always 5 years old on one specific Sunday morning, standing barefoot in the yard of my grandmother's old house. My name is Hope. If you saw me now, sitting at my desk with a warm coffee and a screen full of endless spreadsheets, you might assume I've forgotten what it feels like to live without clocks, without deadlines, without constant noise. You might think I've outgrown dirt under my fingernails or the kind of joy that comes from doing absolutely nothing important at all. But every Sunday morning, when the sunlight hits the floor at just the right angle, I am transported back 23 years in an instant. I'm no longer 28. I'm 5 years old again, standing on the porch of an old house that felt like it was built out of stories, patience, and sunlight. It was the middle of a long golden July. Breakfast had just ended. Thick slices of bread sat on the table, still warm, covered in homemade jam that never stayed where it was supposed to. It always ended up on my chin, on my brother's sleeves, sometimes even on the tablecloth. Grandma never scolded us for it. She just smiled and wiped things clean like messes were temporary and joy was permanent. My brother Leo was 7 then. He was pure motion, always running, always climbing, always looking for something to conquer. A lizard, a tree, a new idea. I followed him everywhere, quieter, smaller, content to live in the echo of his energy. The morning air was already thick with summer heat, that kind of heat that makes everything smell alive. Cut grass, warm dirt, fruit ripening quietly on trees. The yard behind Grandma's house wasn't neat or trimmed. It was wild. It grew the way it wanted to, like it had its own rules. There was an old stone water fountain in the corner. Even now I can hear it. The steady, cool trickle of water hitting the basin. Soft, but constant. It was the only sound strong enough to compete with the cicadas buzzing in the trees. Grandma was already outside. She always was. She wore an old floral dress with a faded apron tied at the waist. The apron pockets were full, as always. String, a pocket knife, maybe a few dried corn kernels she'd forgotten to put away. She was heading toward the coop with a weathered wooden bucket swinging gently in her hand. Leo and I dropped everything and ran to her. She made a sound then, not a shout, not a call. A soft, musical chirping noise she made between her teeth. And just like that, the yard came alive. Chickens rushed out in a flurry of feathers, copper, white, and speckled bodies moving as one. Their orange feet scratched eagerly at the earth. Grandma tossed a handful of golden corn into the air. The sound it made when it hit the ground was sharp and perfect. A sound I didn't know I was memorizing until years later. The ducks waddled over too, tails wagging, soft quacks blending into the morning. Leo laughed, trying to count them as they moved too fast for numbers. He waved his arms, pretending to lead them like a farmer, like he was in charge of the entire world. I didn't move. I just watched. I watched the sunlight hit the ducks' necks, turning them shades of green that didn't exist anywhere else. I watched Grandma smile without saying a word. She never rushed us, never told us to stand back or stay clean. She let us be part of the moment, part of the rhythm of the morning. Later, when the sun climbed higher, we moved into the shade of the massive oak tree guarding the front lawn. This was where the work happened, though to us, it felt like play. Grandma sat on a low wooden bench. At her feet rested a large wicker basket filled with vegetables from the garden, carrots with long green tops, tomatoes warm from the sun, piles of green beans waiting patiently. She handed Leo and me a few beans to snap, though we weren't very good at it. Leo got bored quickly and began building a fort out of corn husks, already lost in an imaginary battle only he could see. I stayed close. I always did. I leaned my back against Grandma's shins, small and steady, watching a ladybug crawl slowly over the worn leather of her shoes. I remember the smell of her so clearly: lavender soap, fresh earth, the faint peppery scent of tomatoes being sliced nearby. Her silver knife moved with ease. Snap, slice, drop. It was like music. And then it happened. Grandma stopped. She didn't speak. She didn't look down. She simply reached out with her free hand and gave the top of my head a gentle, lingering tap. Not a pat, not a scratch. Just a firm, loving acknowledgement. Her hand was warm, slightly rough from the garden, and in that single touch, something settled inside me. I felt safe. I felt seen. I felt anchored. In that moment, under that tree, I believed nothing bad could ever reach me. Like the world had paused just long enough to say, "You're okay. You belong here." To her, it was probably nothing. Just another Sunday, another chore, another morning feeding animals and preparing lunch. But to me, it became everything. That's when I learned that love doesn't always come in grand gestures. Most of the time, love is quiet. It's a handful of corn, the sound of water in a fountain, a warm hand resting briefly on your head. Now, as Hope, the 28-year-old, I miss that yard. I miss the simplicity of a life where my biggest responsibility was snapping a bean or watching a bug crawl by. Life gets loud, doesn't it? Fast, complicated. We spend so much time chasing what's next that we forget we're living inside memories someone else will miss one day. Pause for a moment. Think about yours. Who made you feel safe without saying a word? Where were you when time felt endless? Was it a grandparent's house? A kitchen filled with morning light? A sibling holding your hand a little tighter than necessary? What is the smallest detail that takes you back? The smell of wood smoke, the creak of a screen door, the feeling of a warm hand reminding you that you mattered? Go down to the comments and share it with me. I read every single one. And every story reminds me that we are all carrying these quiet moments with us, even when life tries to bury them. That's why this space exists. That's why we call it the Childhood Vault. Because childhood isn't something we outgrow, it's something we store. Something we return to when the world feels too heavy. If this story brought a smile to your face or a tightness to your chest, if it made you think of someone you wish you could thank, please subscribe and join us here. Like this video. Share it with someone who might need a little reminder of who they once were. Thank you for listening. Thank you for letting me be Hope, the 5-year-old girl under the oak tree. Just one more time. Keep your memories safe. Keep your heart open. And remember, the vault is always open for you.